Happy Saturday, everyone. Good to see you. My name is Mary Frances, and I'm one of Junmali's medical Qigong students. It's Saturday, so we get to go over the Rejuvenation series today. We'll go during class, the proper class, 30 minutes. We will do 1 through 7. And then after that, we'll spend some time working on the first few exercises of the ground exercises, the 8 in the series, and then we'll jump over to our seasonal exercises, which are also on the ground. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start out with our warm-ups. Opening up, feet are hip width, shoulder width apart, settling into the space. Letting the bottoms of the feet melt into the earth. Softening the knees, relaxing the low back. Letting the shoulders drop. Tip of the tongue is touching the roof of the mouth. And letting the very top of the head reach up into the sky. Taking the right hand in a loose fist. We're starting to tap 3 to 4 finger rests beneath the belly button. Letting the mind's eye, the mind awareness, connect with the area with which we're tapping. As we're gently opening up, massaging the tissues and the channels. Getting that chi and blood flow going. Widening the stance so we can open up the channels in the lower half of the body. closing the eyes. Inhaling through the nose, guiding the breath and the chi to the low back, allowing it to fill up with energy. Exhaling, allowing that energy to travel and flow to wherever it's needed within the body. Inhaling, guiding the breath and the chi to the lower back in the kidney area, allowing it to fill up with energy. Exhaling, allowing that energy to travel and flow to wherever it's needed. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace, allowing the mind to relax into the breath, letting the breath relax the body. And allowing the chi to travel and flow to wherever it's needed. Bringing the arms back down to the sides, gently opening the eyes and closing by bringing that left foot back to the right. Okay, we get to work on the rejuvenation series today. We're doing 1 through 7. And then after the 30-minute class, we're going to be doing the 8th exercise, the ground exercises, or at least part of it. We're going to learn part of it. So if you haven't done rejuvenation series before, don't feel like you have to learn all of these exercises all at once. As you practice them, they'll become more familiar to you. And it's such a fun series. I shouldn't say that one series isn't better than the other series. They all have wonderful things about them, but the rejuvenation series is just fun. Always stay within your comfort zone. So if this series is a little active, so if it aggravates, say, if one of the movements aggravates your neck or your shoulders, back, hips, knees, please feel free to modify. Once again, our medical Qigong practice, it's made up of the breath, the mind intent, and then the physical exercise. So if the physical exercise is not working well for your parameters for your body, please modify it and just work with the breath and the mind intent. Those are the primary focuses within our practice. Okay, here we go. The first exercise is the wave, opening, inhaling, exhaling, in and out, inhaling and exhaling. Opening up. Inhaling as the backs of the hands come together. Exhaling as they dive through the ankles. In and out. In and out. Now going at your own pace. Allowing the breath to carry you through the movement. Allowing the chi to flow freely. And getting ready to close. Closing. The modified closing is inhaling up to the breastbone, exhaling here, and then inhaling all the way up, exhaling back down to the breastbone, in, out, inhaling, and exhaling. Our second exercise is the shaking exercise. This exercise has natural breathing. So you're going to allow the breath to enter and exit freely, but also slowly, so that there is a change in tempo between the physicality of the movement and the breath. Allowing a moment for the feet to melt into the earth a bit. If you know this exercise, go ahead and close the eyes. Keeping all the joints relaxed within the body. We start bouncing, we start the momentum from the knees. As we become more comfortable with the movement, we allow the momentum to speed up. So even though the vibration is quite quick, the breath is still slow and even. Once again, unless it aggravates the joints, trying to allow the tissues to remain nice and relaxed. So maybe there's some chattering of the teeth. Allowing the mind, breath to sink into the exercise, even as the momentum, the vibration speeds up. And then gently, slowly taking away some of the momentum. Gradually allowing the body to come back to stillness. Excuse me. Enjoying any sensations maybe noticing and opening the eyes and closing. The classical closing is inhaling all the way up. Exhaling in and out. Inhaling and exhaling. Sorry, I think I shook up more than I meant to. But that's a good thing, probably, maybe. All right, moving along. Our third exercise is the infinity exercise. Opening. Settling in. Turning the torso to the left, sinking down at the knees. Inhaling and exhaling. Enjoying that dynamic of left and right. And getting ready to close. Closing. Scoop the moon. Scoop the moon has natural breathing. So whatever feels best to you, whatever your body wants to do. Settling in. Beginning. Getting ready to close. And closing. And we have our swimming in Qi exercise. It's in 3 parts. Maybe start glancing around, figuring out if you have some space for this exercise. I will have to modify myself a little bit to make sure I don't run into anything. So, swimming in Qi, part 1, opening. Inhaling and exhaling. Getting ready to transition into part 2, inhaling, exhaling, in and out. Getting ready to transition to part 3. Transition, returning to the left at about 45 degrees. This is when I'm switching myself around a little bit so that I have space. The modified version, inhaling and exhaling. The classic version, switching sides. Once again, we're turning at about 45 degrees. I'm scooching over a little bit. The modified version. And classical. Getting ready to close. Closing. Our 6th exercise, swimming dragon, also in 3 parts. Opening, and I seem to be going over in time a little bit, so if you all need to go exactly at 8:45, just know it's about 8:43, so I'm probably going to go about 5 minutes over. Sorry about that. Swimming dragon. Inhaling and exhaling. In and out. Getting ready to transition to part 2. Inhaling and exhaling. In and out. Inhaling and exhaling. In and out. Getting ready to transition to part 3. Transitioning. Part 3, inhaling and exhaling. And getting ready to close. Closing. And now we have our 7th exercise, Circles of Harmony. This exercise has natural breathing, so it's whatever your body is telling you how to breathe, just go ahead and breathe. So much fun. Just have fun with this exercise. You can go very slowly or you can go a little faster. It's completely up to you, whatever feels best to you this morning. Settling in. Getting ready to close. And closing. Okay. If you all have to go, it's 8:50. Please do a closing on your own. So keeping the feet together, bringing the palms together, and then placing the palms at the lower dantian. Taking time to breathe, gathering and storing all that wonderful chi that you've been cultivating into the lower dantian. I'm going to jump us into the ground exercises. And for the ground exercises, they are its own form of closing for the Rejuvenation series. There are 6 parts to the ground exercises. I'm going to go over the first 2 parts. So we open the same way. Inhaling as the arms sweep out to the sides, gathering above the head, looking up about 60 degrees. Exhaling, guiding the hands back down to the level of the breastbone. Taking a moment to inhale. Fingertips are pointing down. Exhaling down to the lower dantian. Taking another moment to inhale. And releasing as we exhale. Okay, so I'm going to go over this first element in a couple parts. So as I mentioned before, the ground exercises, which is the eighth exercise series within the Rejuvenation series, has 6 parts. The first part is a shoulder hip slide. So I'm going to be doing it on the floor. I'm going to be switching the iPad in a moment, but it might be easier in some ways to see it against the door. So you're going to be lying on the floor. So this is also an excellent chance for you to look around your area to see where you want to lay down. You can be lying on the floor, and you're going to try and melt the body into the floor so it's nice and relaxed and heavy. And then you're going to start with the left side, lifting the, and that's kind of a misnomer, not lifting exactly, but sliding. Sliding the left shoulder and left hip at the same time up towards the ear. So we're not bringing anything up off of the ground. It's all the arm and then the leg is going to slide along the floor as the shoulder and the hip come up towards the left ear. Okay? And then we're going to bring that back down and then work on the other side. So the right shoulder and right hip are going to slide up towards the right ear while allowing the limbs to hang heavy against the floor. And then there's breathing along with that, but we'll get to that in a moment. So we have this handy tripod. That's my husband's. And please forgive the fact that this is a semi-low-tech setup studio. So we're really going to try not to drop the iPad. Okay, hang think that's in. And then we tilt. Oh, I think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna work. So we've done our opening, right? We've done our opening. You can't see me really, but our opening that we do for all of our exercises. And then we're immediately going to come to a happy spot on the floor. Let me try and make it so that you can see me. And you're simply going to lay down the angle like this. I think that's what I decided to do. You're going to lay down. You can definitely use a mat if you like, or some type of cushioning. Once again, this is not a push through the pain type of series or practice. But take a moment to just allow the body to melt into the earth. Now, theoretically, you want your legs to be like the feet pointing up and the knees pointing up and the legs pointing up, right, in a parallel fashion. Theoretically, my hips block out, so my whole legs just block out. So in some of these exercises, that's a little okay. I'm trying to get my legs to come parallel for the most part, but I'm not trying to force anything. So if that causes joint issues, or if you're struggling too much, just work with what your limbs want to do. So the feet can be apart a little bit. That's going to make this a little easier. So about inner hip width, and the palms are face down upon the earth. And then what we're going to do is take that left shoulder and left hip, and on an inhale, we're going to slide them along the floor. So I'm trying to mirror you. So I'm using the one that's furthest away from you. So we'll see in a moment, closer to the screen. So we're inhaling, sliding the left hip and shoulder up towards the left ear, and then exhaling as we bring it back to neutral. And then on the right side, inhaling as we slide along the ground, along the floor, that right shoulder and right hip, exhaling back to neutral. So once again, we're not like, don't bring things up or bend or put yourself off of the ground. You want that connection with the ground. Inhaling the left side up, exhaling back down. Inhaling the right side, exhaling back down. Inhaling. Now these movements may be very, very subtle, and that's okay. Remembering this is all about breath and mind intent. The physicality of the exercise, though important, not as important as those two elements. So we do that 4 times on each side, alternating, first left and then right. After we do that 4 times on each side, we're going to bring the legs up, bringing the feet up off the ground. If you have this like hole underneath your low back, go ahead and try and flatten it. And then placing the palms loosely just below the knees. So if here are my knees, right below. Here's a knee right below. We're not grasping below the knees. We're not using our arms to help us with this. It's just a light laying of the hands upon just below the knee. Now we're going to do our crunches. And these crunches are not crunches you do at the gym. Okay, they're actually the opposite. So on an inhale, we're going to raise our shoulders up towards our knees. And then on an exhale, We're going to slowly lower once more. We do this 4 times, inhaling and exhaling. Try to keep your head and neck in a neutral posture. So as I'm inhaling and coming up, I'm not turning my head towards my knees. I'm keeping it fairly neutral. And exhaling. And you're going nice and slow. Okay, and once we've done 4 times, we'll move on to the next part of the exercise. We're not going to do that today. So let's very briefly go over those 2 elements first. We've done our opening, and we've come down to the floor. Giving yourselves a moment to melt into the earth. Tip of the tongue is still touching the roof of the mouth. And then using the breath, on an inhale, we're going to slide that left shoulder and left hip along the ground towards the left ear. And then exhaling back into a neutral position. Inhaling with the right. Exhaling back to a neutral position. Once again, not moving so much that you're putting yourself into pain. Trying to keep the other side relaxed. And once you've finished 4 times on each side, bringing knees up, feet up. Now I find it's a little kinder to the low back to have this transition in between, bringing the feet to the floor and then bringing the knees up, lightly grasping just below the knees. And then on an inhale, lifting the shoulders up off the ground to wherever it's comfortable for you. Really gathering in the breath into the lower dantian. And exhaling, melting back down. Inhaling. Gathering the breath in the chi into the lower dantian. Exhaling. In. And out. One more time, I think, to make 4. And then for today, simply bring the legs out in front, placing the palms at the lower dantian, closing the eyes. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace. As you inhale, guiding and gathering all that wonderful chi that you've been cultivating over the past 45 minutes into the lower dantian, filling it up with energy. Exhaling, allowing that energy to settle and store so it is there for you for the rest of your day. ready, we're going to transition into the seasonal exercises. So turning onto one side, whichever side you want. It's not necessary. It's not one side or the other. It's whichever one you want. You're going to turn onto one side. Gradually sit back on up. I know you're getting yourselves ready for the seasonal exercise. I'm going to take, oops, switch up the iPad again. Hi. Fly around the world. There we go. Seasonal exercises. These exercises are seated. We're on our 5th in the fall series. It's called Cold Dew. We're sitting in our cross-legged configuration. So that's either full lotus, half lotus, simple cross-legged, or once again, if your legs don't like being crossed, you can extend the legs and then fold one leg over top. Doesn't matter which leg is in front, it's up to you. And if none of those options work well for you, feel free to just sit in a chair. Okay, once again, we don't want to move into pain. Pain is not our best friend, not in these practices. Okay, so settling in, tip of the tongue is touching the roof of the mouth. Placing the hands into our baby fists. So the thumb is hidden on the inside of the 4 fingers, wrapped lightly around. Backs of the fists are resting upon the thighs. Closing the eyes, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Allowing yourself to come into this space, coming into the moment. Relaxing into the breath. Opening the eyes. Inhaling as we gather. Exhaling. In. Out. Inhaling. Exhaling. In. And out. Going at your own pace. 3 more times, moving faster or slower, it's up to you. While everyone's finishing up, I'm going to review the closing exercises in the seasonal exercises. Placing our hands one on top of the other, palms are face up. The right hand is traditionally on top for women, left traditionally for men. The thumbs are connected. We're going to do our teeth pressing, and that's 36 times traditionally for men, 24 times traditionally for women. Swirling the tongue in the mouth 9 times clockwise, 9 times counterclockwise. And then we're going to take all that wonderful, precious saliva that we've generated in the mouth. We'll swish it around in between the teeth 36 times for everyone. And finally swallowing that saliva in third, allowing each third to travel down to the lower dantian, settle and store, before then swallowing the second third and then the third third. And then, actually this is the finally. We're going to close our eyes, inhaling and exhaling at your own pace, gathering all the wonderful chi that we've been cultivating over the past hour or so into the lower dantian, creating a nice happy home for it so it can settle and store, so it is there for us to use throughout the rest of our day. All right, here we go. Thank you so very, very much, Qigong family.